What's going on, YouTube? So last year, Hyundai impressed with an extensive refresh of the Sonata, which made it look nothing like the model that we owned a short time ago. And to relive some of those old memories, we've spent the last week with this 2025 inline. So after 7 days, is this a model we want to put back in our driveway? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Now, like always, let's go ahead and start off with our spec dump. Now, this is the inline, which means of the three powertrains, we have the most powerful one. This is a 2.5-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine, making 290 horsepower. Power is routed through an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission to the front wheels, and our combined fuel economy is 27 mpg.
Now, the base price for the Sonata in 2025 is $26,000, and if you're looking to buy a Sonata or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, this is also a 7-day review, and we do some special elements in our 7-day reviews. We get our real-world fuel economy after living with it for a week. We also get our official Kentucky sound level reading, and at the end, we're going to tell you if we like the Sonata better, the same, or worse after living with it this week.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood because we got to start with the exterior and then move to the interior. Now, like I mentioned at the introduction, this was a heavily refreshed model just last year. And honestly, you wouldn't even hardly know it was a refresh because they completely changed the entire front end design. Now, as the inline, you get more aggressive elements than the rest of the trim levels. So you'll notice that the large grille is finished in a gloss black. It also gives you more aggressive elements over here, just kind of to look a little bit sportier overall. Now, as far as the lighting, obviously that's going to be very different and interesting on this model. First of all, you've got that light bar that runs all the way across the entire front end, like many other Hyundai products. This part of it does also double as your turn signal indicator, in addition to the daytime running light. And then down below, we have separated our projector LED headlights. These are actually standard on all trims. One thing I did observe, compared to the model we used to own, is the fact that these are a lot brighter. These projector LEDs are a lot better than the reflector LEDs that it used to have. Then as we move around to the back, obviously you are going to have more aggressive elements back here as well.
Yeah, and as far as what those are, we have kind of an integrated spoiler up here at the top. Ever since the refresh, we do have some full-length LED taillights back here. They almost have like a race car design to them. And as far as the unit themselves, you're going to have an LED brake light, LED turn signal, and then a incandescent reverse light. So most of the elements are LED, at least here on the higher end models. And then as we drop down to the lower fascia, that's where things really get aggressive for this inline. You're actually going to have quad tipped exhaust. So that's a special element that I think makes this vehicle look a lot better.
Now, one of my favorite elements about the exterior are these wheels. So the inline gets the largest wheels in the entire lineup. They're 19-inch alloys. And as you can see, they've got this really cool contrast design with the offset spokes. I really like the way this looks. It really sets off the overall design. Up here, you're going to notice that we've got a fender-mounted turn signal indicator and the special inline branding right through there. Gloss black finish for our mirrors. All models have standard blind spot monitoring and heating as well.
Now, at the side of the Sonata, the overall vehicle length is 193.3 inches, which is a good length for this segment. Now, as far as your safety systems are concerned, I'm happy to tell you that you're going to get actually every single one of those as standard equipment. That will even include things like adaptive cruise control. Now, do be aware you have to choose at least the inline or the limited to get highway drive assist, which is your highway assistant. It makes it driving quite a bit easier for long road trips. But guys, the interior is pretty much unrecognizable to the car we used to own, so let's dive into that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we have reviewed over 2,000 vehicles at every price point.
No matter what you're looking for, from humble to high-end, we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the latest cars. All right, now let's move to the interior. First, here's our key fob. This is Hyundai's new key fob with kind of that rounded egg-like shape. You have a standard smart entry system, and remote start is also included here with the inline. Getting inside is as simple as grabbing behind the handle and that will unlock the door. I say that as it does not. I've now discovered that this smart entry system does not work with gloves. I have no idea what's going on here, but as you can see, not working with these gloves. So there you go. If you wear gloves a lot in a cold climate, you might want to keep that in mind. But let's turn our attention back to the interior. And as you can see, lots of changes going on versus that previous inline. If you've ever seen that content on our channel before, the big thing about the interior that I want to start off with is, of course, our seats. So Hyundai gives you some really aggressive bucket seats when you choose the inline. As you can see, these bolsters, very thick. They do hold you in place quite nicely. The other thing that holds you in place when you're cornering aggressively is the fact that you have a suede insert that actually runs through the center section. That gives you a little bit extra grip, and then you've got the leather bolsters on the outside edge. This is the only color option you can get, which is kind of a black or a light gray. Down below here, we have 8 ways of power adjustment, including our 2-way lumbar support, and those are your adjustable bolsters right there. Let's go ahead and climb inside. Now that we've closed up the door, let's look at the rest of the cabin materials. Over here in our door trim, we have a leatherette material. We have more of that through the center section with the stitching detail. Soft touch plastic along the top. As we move to the upper dashboard, this is actually completely finished in a leatherette with a stitching detail. Through the center section, we have kind of a brushed aluminum look trim. It's actually not, but it does look like that. You have a special red accent for the inline through the vent details. And then down here along our center tunnel, this is not going to be padded, but it does feel nice and solid. To fire it up, we'll push our standard push button start with the red accent around it. All right, now that's fired up, let's dig in with our gauge cluster first of all. So we've got the 12.3-inch full digital gauge cluster as part of this dual screen arrangement that a lot of the most recent Hyundai products have. You can, of course, reconfigure this a few different ways. Now, if you want the blind spot camera system or a head-up display, I'm going to have to tell you to get the limited trim because you're just going to have to understand that the inline does give you that extra performance, but you're going to miss out on a little bit of luxury features. Another one is heated steering wheel as well and rain sensing wipers. Those are all limited exclusive features that are kind of clustered right in this area. Now, as far as the wheel itself, though, very nice. I like the bolstering on it and the perforated leather on the sides. It has a special in badge down there at the bottom, and this is the latest design, which doesn't have the conventional Hyundai logo. Now, let's talk about interior storage next. So when I open up this console, you're going to see that it is loaded with donuts. That, of course, is because the donut is our logo, and we like to check the volume of the center console. Today we have 10 donuts inside. That's pretty good for a mid-size sedan. It is a little below the 12 that we want to see, though, to pass the test. Now in front of that, we've got 2 cup holders. You have a storage cubby right there. You'll notice we have a nice wireless phone charging pad right there in that front storage area as well. And one thing that's not in this area is a shifter. That's because we now have the new shifter up here that's mounted to the steering wheel. Just twist up for drive, down for reverse. When we go into reverse, here is our backup camera. This is just the standard backup camera, as you can see, with active trajectory. If you want to have a 360 camera, that is again going to be a limited exclusive feature. And just press the end of the stock right there for park. You do also have brake hold, and here's your drive mode controller. Now continuing on to our climate controls, we have a dual zone automatic setup here. Nice knob here to adjust through the temperature. One thing that's different from when we owned it is that you do have the touch-sensitive controls through here, but they're very nice and responsive overall. This is also where you're going to be able to turn on your heated seats. This does have standard, of course, 3-stage heated seats. Compared to when we had it, stage 3 does not burn me up like before. Previously, it was so hot I could not even tolerate it, so that might actually be an improvement, but it is a little less hot than it used to be. Now, you still have the nice physical controls for the audio system as well. One of the things that's nice is that both the inline and the limited this time do come with the Bose sound system, and let's go ahead and give that a sample. So overall sound quality of this system is quite nice. Certainly fills up the cabin really well. And is one of the better things that is left here in the midsize segment. Now let's talk about this main infotainment system next, because as far as the changes that Hyundai made to the interior, while they are extensive, many of them are aesthetic, but this infotainment is a really big functional change. So this has the new CCNC software, and this is blazing fast. So in the week that we've been with this product, it's just reminded us how good it is. It pairs your phone within seconds. When you get inside the vehicle, it automatically pulls up Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which both run wirelessly and are very, very smooth. Now, inside of this system, we also do have a built-in navigation system. This is pretty crisp in terms of the overall resolution and performance. You have some other functions like weather, sports, things like that. And overall, like I said, everything has just been very smooth and nice functioning this week. Now up top here, we've got an auto-dimming mirror. This does not have HomeLink remotes built into it though. It's just the frameless design. And then I'll go ahead and open up our panoramic sunroof. As you can see, that's a pretty nice feature to be included here with the inline as well as the limited and the SEL convenience.
And now let's dive into the Sonata's rear seat area. Now, when we owned our Sonata, we were always pretty impressed with this area, and that's, of course, not going to change for this refresh. You have plenty of space for 2 adults back here, maybe even 3 people. And as far as those space figures, let's go ahead and dive into that. So we're looking at about 37.4 inches of legroom and about 35 inches of headroom. The headroom is going to be a little bit tighter for those of you that are, very tall. However, the legroom is quite good. As a matter of fact, I'm 5'9" for reference. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who is 5'8", and we are looking at about 8.5 inches of additional knee room, and my feet can slide easily up underneath of the seat. That seems roughly on par with what the Toyota Camry that we also own right now has in the rear seat area. Now, if we fold down the center armrest, we have 2 cup holders inside. Do be aware you have to get one of the, at least a SEL trim level to get that center armrest. Also, on the upper end models, you will notice that we have rear vents. It's actually a change this year that the inline has added rear vents again for the 2025 version. We have 2 USB-C ports down in the center console as well. Heated rear seats are not offered on the Sonata. You can also get rear sunshades if you choose that limited model. Speaking of the door trim is going to be pretty nicely done. A lot of soft touch plastic as well as some leatherette. The door storage is going to be a little bit shallow, so keep that in mind. It certainly is not going to fit my gigantic Stanley water bottle. That will have to go in the center console area. Now let's go ahead and check out the cargo area. One of the things we also always used to appreciate about our Sonata is how much space it had in the cargo area. As you can see, it's nicely dampened. You can also even get a power trunk on that limited model. Now, as far as space, 15.4 cubic feet is what you are looking at. That pretty much matches what the Toyota Camry is offering. And like I said, during our time of owning the vehicle, we owned it for several years, and it's definitely big enough to fit suitcases and things like that in this sedan. Now, the seats do fold 60-40 split, and it's a Car Confections review after all, so let's go ahead and get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as overall cargo length, that's going to be about 45 inches. Cargo width is going to be more realistically about 37 inches. And then as far as cargo height, that comes in a little over 20 inches. Now, I do want to point out, if you lift up the floor, there is not a spare tire, so keep that in mind. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2025 Sonata. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a bit, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our official Kentucky sound level reading. But first, we want to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right, and that was 65 miles per hour in the inline Sonata. So obviously this is not your run-of-the-mill Sonata because it has a lot more power, 290 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque to be exact, from a 2.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Now, as you can tell, when I accelerated, and I did point this out at the spec dump as well, this is a front-wheel drive vehicle. Hyundai is not adding all-wheel drive to the inline for 2025. I know a lot of people have been asking for that. We've been asking for that ever since we owned one. And then, of course, this week, as you can see, there's been a lot of snow on the ground, so we would have benefited from that as well. So not just for performance reasons, but also for, different types of weather. It would have been nice to have. That being said, it's still, once it hooks up, really rips. I mean, this thing is legitimately fast, especially for considering that this is a mid-size sedan that's available for well under $40,000.
Yeah. Now, as far as some other options, now Drew said that all-wheel drive is not offered on the inline. That doesn't mean it's not offered at all, because Hyundai does offer all-wheel drive on the Sonata, but you have to get the base powertrain. That's just a regular 2.5 liter four-cylinder, 191 horsepower, 181 pound-feet of torque for that. So that's going to be on the lower end of the trim spectrum, and you can't get all-wheel drive on that. Now, they also are giving you a choice of a hybrid. So if you're wanting the best fuel economy, that's a 2-liter 4-cylinder plus electric components, 191 horsepower on that one. Now, we've also spent an entire week with a Hyundai Sonata Limited Hybrid, so if you're interested in watching that review, you can learn more about that as well. In this test drive, we're going to be mainly focused on the inline, because this is, of course, one of the brightest spots about this performance model.
Now, as far as the transmissions are concerned, well, we have 3 different transmission options depending on those 3 different powertrains. With the inline, you have an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, so that is special to this version. And that's basically designed that way to give you that extra performance edge. So the benefits of having the dual-clutch are just having really fast shifts. And overall performance is really nice. You can also use the paddle shifters as well, and you'll get really good shift performance with those.
Now, if you want a smoother experience, the traditional 2.5 liter gas model will have an 8-speed regular automatic, and then they have a 6-speed automatic for the hybrid variant. Now that we're just sitting in traffic here, I do want to take a second to discuss just a few housekeeping things like fuel economy. Now, the best fuel economy is with the base trim level. That gets 32 mpg combined. The all-wheel drive SEL gets 28 mpg. The inline is rated at 27, so not too much of a downgrade over the regular 2.5 liter with all-wheel drive. And then you, of course, have the hybrid, which is going to have the best fuel economy at 47 miles per gallon combined. Now, what have we been experiencing in the real world? I'm sure that's what you are most curious about during our week of driving this. Now, we have not quite fully finished this week of driving it, so we will insert an official picture in just a second. But as far as a reference point for what we're sitting at now, we've driven at 115 miles, and we're sitting at 22.9 miles per gallon. So that is not going to be fantastic fuel economy. However, that is going to be a figure based on city driving, so that's really not too far off of the EPA estimate. But do be aware that the city driving in the inline, we owned one for two plus years, and it did very much sit at around 22 miles per gallon in the city. And as you drove it on the highway was a lot better, but the city fuel economy was definitely a little bit on the lower side.
Yeah. Definitely, it just has so much torque that if you really get after it, it struggles on any dampness at all.
But we're just kind of cruising along the road here, so let's talk about ride quality. Now, overall ride on the Sonata, we've been nothing but impressed with. That really hasn't changed since we owned the vehicle not that long ago. It has really good ride quality. Now, it is going to be a little bit on the firmer side, especially here on the inline version, because, of course, this is more performance-oriented. The Limited version is incredibly comfortable, so if you want something more comfortable, just choose the Limited. But this one's going to be a pretty good balance between sport and comfort.
And I love these seats.
Yeah, they are nice. Now it's time for our sound level reading, going 55. We have it on fan speed 1. .9 decibels is what we are sitting at. Wow, that is a really good sound level reading. We don't sit here and guess, though. We can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings to see how it stacks up. Now that is going to place us as one of the quietest readings that we've ever gotten in the midsize sedan segment, so that's certainly worth mentioning. The Kia K5 is actually still slightly quieter, but we're sitting at a very similar figure to what we experienced in the Sonata Hybrid Limited, which is our number 2 quietest option in the segment. So definitely a step above something like a Honda Accord, that's for sure.
All right, so we're on a back road now. We can talk a little bit about driving dynamics. Mason and I have hustled inlines on back roads more than a few times since we used to own that one, and it really does a fantastic job. I feel like, it's easy to just think, okay, they added a more powerful engine to a regular midsize sedan, but it's really not the case. They did a lot of things to really help this just to be a nice and balanced vehicle overall. I like the weight of the steering as well. It's not overly heavy because this still needs to be, everyday livable, but at the same time, it does have a little bit of heft to it. Good response when you turn off center. Again, the chassis is nice and balanced, good grip from the tires as well. And it's just overall quite a bit of fun to drive on a back road. And that's going to be today's slam dunk, because these performance midsize sedans are a dying breed, and this really is more fun than pretty much anything else you can get in the market right now.
Yeah, on the airball side of things, we're going to say we want all-wheel drive for the inline. As you can see, it really can't put the power down as good as it should be able to if it had all-wheel drive. So that's just a little disappointing that you're going to be like roasting the front wheels every time you accelerate very quickly, especially on wet or snowy conditions like this. So we lived with this Sonata for a week. So how does it compare to our original expectations coming into this review? Do we like it the same, better, or worse after living with it? Well, I think what we're going to say mainly is that we like it pretty much the same. Our expectations were actually quite, proven at this point in time, because we did own one, like we've said multiple times in this review. We owned it for about 2.5 years. So we're very familiar with this vehicle, and most of it is the same. However, this interior, I'd say we definitely like it better than maybe our original expectations, because it is a lot more functional than what we experienced previously on our 2021 Sonata, and this new technology is really impressive. So now it's time to talk about pricing. So as I said at the very beginning of the video, we start at $26,650 this year for the SE model. Of course, there's quite a few different trim levels you can select. You can see all of them on the screen right now. This inline starts at $35,250, and the hybrid limited starts at $37,450. Now, if you want one as tested today, you're going to be spending, a little over $36,000, which I would argue is a pretty good price point for what you're getting here with this Sonata inline. Now, as far as your warranty, if you're looking to buy one, that's going to be protected by Hyundai's very long warranty, 5-year 60,000 mile basic, 10-year 100,000 mile powertrain. You do also get 3 years and 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. Also, if you're looking to buy one, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, the reason you do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation and can help the dealers to start competing on price. Additionally, we even have a monthly payment tool if you're interested in using any of those features. You can find that at carconfections.com/newcarquotes. But buying a car is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's dive into resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, Drew and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Hyundai Sonata's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 55.3% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 19.6%. Now, it's worth noting that it's actually above industry average for all vehicle brands. However, it's not quite as good as some of the other options you may be looking at in the midsize segment, such as the Toyota Camry as well as the Honda Accord. Those are some of the very best resale percentages that you're going to get in the entire auto industry.
Now, we've also done the same for reliability by developing the Combined Reliability Index. What this does is take into account several studies from trustworthy sources and combines them in a way that gives you a more holistic picture. In this regard, Hyundai is rated just about at the overall industry average for all vehicle makes.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our reliability, resale data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Well, guys, we hope you enjoyed watching this 7-day review of the 2025 Hyundai Sonata Inline. If you did, we'd really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to get the latest car reviews such as this, and you're also going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel. I promise you won't want to miss out. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.